Trump is at it again. Another deal, another backroom tactic. And this time, it's not just shady. It's borderline diplomatic extortion. We're talking about trade threats, foreign governments, and use of U.S. embassies. This is what happens when business, diplomacy, and politics all blur together. The Trump administration is using U.S. embassies and trade threats to pressure other countries behind closed doors. We're talking about high stakes deals, quiet coercion, and a playbook that rewards loyalty, not honesty. Before I bust this story wide open, I want to show you something else Trump has been up to today.
If you're just getting used to the switch from the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, you might want to keep taking notes, as President Trump is set to announce the U.S. will soon refer to the Persian Gulf as the Arabian Gulf or Gulf of Arabia. A pair of U.S. officials who wish to remain anonymous tell the Associated Press the announcement will be made during Trump's visit to the Middle East next week. Arab nations previously lobbied for the name change, but Iran, which was formerly known as Persia until 1935, has kept historic ties to the body of water covering 1,000 miles of its southern coast. The Iranians' name of the Gulf has become a rallying cry for Iranians who relish their nation's long history as the former Persian Empire. President Trump previously disputed with Tehran during his first term when he referred to the sea as the Arabian Gulf. Iranian officials criticized the wording by the president, saying he needs to study geography. Iran's foreign minister responded to the latest report Wednesday on X, calling Donald Trump's plan politically motivated and saying attempts to alter the historically established name of the Persian Gulf are indicative of hostile intent toward Iran and its people and are firmly condemned. The move comes just months after Donald Trump signed an executive order renaming the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. CNN now reports House Speaker Mike Johnson now faces opposition from some within his own party as he tries to pass a bill making Donald Trump's executive order law. The bill reportedly cannot afford to lose any votes, but Republicans remain optimistic it will pass. The Trump administration previously banned the Associated Press from the White House after it refused to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico. But a judge recently ruled the AP must be reinstated.
So you might be asking yourself, why is Trump thinking about renaming the Persian Gulf? Like, why? Because he's obsessed with taking a jab at Iran, even if it means insulting centuries of history and angering U.S. allies in the process. I mean, think about this. The man who couldn't find most of these countries on a map now wants to rebrand one of the world's most important waterways. I mean, this is foreign policy by ego, and Trump treats it like naming a casino wing. This isn't leadership. This is what happens when diplomacy is handled by someone who thinks every global issue can be solved with a new logo. But now it is time for our main story. Less than 2 weeks after President Donald Trump announced his 50% tariffs on goods from the tiny African nation of Lesotho, the country's communications regulator held a meeting with representatives of Starlink. That's right, the satellite business owned by billionaire and Trump advisor Elon Musk, SpaceX company, had been seeking access to customers in Lesotho. But it was not until Trump unveiled the tariffs and called for negotiations over the trade deals that leaders of the country of roughly 2 million people awarded Musk the first ever satellite internet service license slated for 10 years. The decision drew a mention in the International State Department memo obtained by the Washington Post, which states, as the government of Lesotho negotiates a trade deal with the United States, I hope that licensing Starlink demonstrates goodwill and intent to welcome U.S. businesses. So, Lesotho holds out for years, then magically approves Starlink right after Trump slaps them with tariffs. That's not goodwill. That's economic pressure dressed up as diplomacy. So I don't know what they're talking about. Lesotho is far from the only country that has decided to assist Musk's firm while trying to fend off U.S. tariffs. The company reached distribution deals with 2 providers in India in March and has won at least partial accommodations with Somalia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Vietnam, although this is probably not a comprehensive count. A series of international government messages obtained by the Post reveal how U.S. embassies and the State Department have pushed nations to clear hurdles for U.S. satellite companies, often mentioning Starlink by name. This isn't some one-off situation. This is global, and every embassy knows the playbook. Approve Musk or brace for tariffs. The documents do not show that the Trump team has explicitly demanded favors for Starlink in exchange for the lower tariffs, but they do indicate that Secretary of State Marco Rubio has increasingly instructed officials to push for regulatory approvals for Musk's satellite firm at the moment. When the White House is calling for wide-ranging talks on trade, that line right there says everything. You don't need to spell it out when the pressure is crystal clear. Musk is a key political ally to the Trumps, who spent $277 million backing President Trump and other Republicans in the last election. And there it is. Trump's biggest donor is suddenly the centerpiece of the U.S. trade strategy. This is the danger when business, diplomacy, and politics all collapse into one, okay? The line gets blurred. We're opening the door to a future where our foreign policy is for sale, one satellite deal at a time. And as always, it is an absolute pleasure to bring you a piece of the news today. You can find me here 24/7. Let me know where you came from, and let's have a chat. I'll see you on the next video.